Since its opening in 2000, Millennium Force has been revered as one of the best steel coasters in the world. Along with the Coney Island Cyclone, the Beast, and Magnum, it's one of the few coasters I would call legendary. For 8 years, the title of Best Coaster at Cedar Point belonged to Millennium Force, even with the opening of Top Thrill Dragster in 2003. However, in 2008, that title became less undisputed with the opening of the ground-hugging powerhouse, Maverick. In 2010, the sheer height and speed of Millennium Force was combined with the intensity and breakneck pacing of Maverick with the opening of Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. Throughout the 2010s, new manufacturer Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, built new coasters at every corner of the nation, with consistency of airtime, pacing, and sheer intensity changing the way enthusiasts viewed coasters. In 2015, Carowinds built Fury 325, which many saw as a faster-paced, more intense, and just plain better version of Millennium Force. More recently, while the title of Best Coaster at Cedar Point had been a dispute between Millennium Force and Maverick for 10 years, the dispute was suddenly ended in 2018. Steel Vengeance, the world's tallest and fastest hybrid coaster, was the most extreme RMC coaster ever built, and suddenly it was almost no contest which the best was at Cedar Point. This results in a climate in the enthusiast community where raw, non-stop intensity is the most favored kind of coaster. As a result of this, Millennium Force has been criticized more and more each year since 2008. With its drawn-out overbanked turns and big swooping floater airtime hills, it has gained the derogatory nickname Millennium Forceless. It's absolutely okay to prefer more rapid-paced coasters such as Maverick and Fury 325, but criticizing Millennium Force for not being this kind of coaster simply misses the point of the kinds of thrills Millennium Force provides. When it comes to the layout, pacing, and forcefulness of Millennium Force, its overbanked turns and 2 camelback hills are enormous and drawn out because that's how the ride is supposed to be. If the coaster simply had low-to-the-ground turns and hills like Fury and Intimidator, it wouldn't feel as enormous as it does. It was the first Giga coaster, so it makes sense that the park and designers would want you to feel the huge scale of the coaster from start to finish. The first overbank and airtime hill alone are 169 and 182 feet tall respectively. That's taller than both the 137-foot tall Raptor and the 161-foot tall Mean Streak, which were the tallest coasters of their kind on opening less than 10 years earlier. The middle 2 overbank turns are so enormous, they take up the space of an entire island in the park. Even the final speed hill and overbank, the smallest elements of the ride, use a forced perspective by making those elements right by the front entrance of the ride. The last overbank wraps around the whole queue, and the speed hill whizzes right past the station, up close and personal to those just minutes away from riding. These enormous overbanks and camelbacks are perfect for conveying the size, speed, and sheer power of a Giga coaster. The airtime is floaty, the positive Gs are powerful, and the speed is retained throughout the whole ride. The elements feel so much longer and gradual than most other coasters, which puts the scale of the ride into perspective while you ride it. At the same time, you go through these elements at such a huge speed, so Millennium Force is able to convey enormous speed and size at the same time, a feat that very few coasters can accomplish. The best part is that this kind of thrill can be enjoyed by anyone. It's not abrupt ejector airtime like Magnum, not crushing positive Gs like Raptor, and not overwhelmingly fast-paced like Steel Vengeance or Maverick. The coaster is not only forceful, but also graceful, comfortable, and perfectly smooth, without any bad transitions or potholes. The forces aren't incredibly strong, but they're drawn out over graceful, smooth turns and towering parabolic hills. It's just strong enough that you can feel it, but in a way that won't make anyone uncomfortable. In addition, unlike most other coasters of similar size, the height requirement is only 48 inches. Fury, Leviathan, Intimidator 305, and Steel Dragon 2000 all have height requirements 54 inches or higher. This means Millennium Force has a wider audience of people that are able to ride it, and the ride experience is reflective of that. Millennium Force doesn't alienate anybody. Anyone who steps on it will enjoy themselves, and more people are able to ride it than any other coaster of its size. Imagine watching one of Millennium Force's trains pull into the unloading station. I can guarantee you've never seen a train that didn't erupt in applause and cheering when the ride operator says, "How was your ride?" You can even hear the applause on almost every on and off-ride POV of the ride that exists. That's because, unlike other coasters at Cedar Point, Millennium Force isn't a coaster that wears you down with rapid-fire intensity. Instead, it energizes the train with its raw power, speed, and scale. Millennium Force is a coaster of pure fun. It's a coaster that, instead of leaving you breathless, it brings you back supercharged with excitement and adrenaline. One can ride it over and over and never be uncomfortable, never worn down. It's fun every single time in every single row. In my experience, there is simply no other roller coaster that has this effect. It's beyond space, beyond time, beyond gravity. That is why I think Millennium Force is perfect the way it is, as one of the most universally thrilling, enjoyable, and just plain fun coasters in the world.